As we begin Book 5 of Paradise Lost, we continue with new characters. One of the main new characters that we encounter is Raphael, God's angel sent to Adam and Eve um, to tell them of the sin of the disobedience to God. And then also Abdiel, who is the only follower of Satan who remains faithful to God during the war in heaven. And Abdiel is a significant character because he begins as one of the characters that follows Satan. However, he does return and repents. As the book begins, Eve has a dream that is very disturbing to her, and there is a voice that comes to her in her ear that tempts her to eat of the tree. And they have been told not to eat of that tree or they would surely die. However, this, like the story in the Bible, goes right along with being giving a temptation, and it is very disturbing to Eve. She has not yet sinned, but she hears this, and it's basically foreshadowing what is to come. Because it has upset her so, Adam's explanation is fancy and imagination can often cloud reason, especially in a dream. And he reassures Eve that evil may come and go in a dream. However, temptation is not sin. Thinking about it is not the sin, it's the action upon it. As they awake, they get up and they have their morning prayer. And this is an allusion to Psalms 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament sheweth his handiwork. And you can read Psalms 148 for a further explanation of that. When Adam and Eve get up, they continue on their task. However, God looks upon them with pity because they are basically still at this point innocents. They are ignorant of an evil that is out there. They are unaware of the evil that is lurking with Satan and his followers. And to try to protect them, he sends Raphael to basically give them a warning and to remind them of their free will. This is this is where the story somewhat differs from the Greek epic heroes, where fate deems what is going to happen. Because if there is fate, and that is what the prophecies have foretold, that eliminates the thought of free will. But for Adam and Eve and God, the creatures of God's creation, they do have free will. So the choice of theirs is still up in the air. When Raphael arrives, he dines with Adam and Eve, and he explains that love abounds without jealousy or lust. When he's talking, Adam is extremely inquisitive about everything that he has to say. However, Raphael warns them that they must obey God's commands, and again tells them of their free will and that some beings have already fallen because of their disobedience. So he wants to give Adam a clear picture of what is happening, but he wants to give him this knowledge within reasons, within boundaries. Just as you can't tell a small child of all of the evil that exists in the world because number one, they can't understand it, and number two, it would be vastly overwhelming. So is the same way that Raphael is talking to Adam. It would be far too much for his mind to try to understand. As Raphael is talking, it is now time to get the full backstory because, as we've said before, the book begins in the middle and medias res. So Raphael explains the fall in heaven, and this also works to help explain to the reader what has happened. He tells Adam of the appointing of the Son as second in command in heaven, and tells him how Satan becomes jealous of and his pride overtakes him, and as Satan assembles his legion, God sees the rebellious uprising. Abdiel first starts to side with Satan, but then speaks out and accuses Satan of blasphemy, falsehood, and pride, and he then is left to stand alone. However, he is rewarded for his continuance in following Christ, following God. Some of the major themes to keep in mind as you're reading, as you continue your reading of this poem, is that imagination overruling reason theme. And this is kind of somewhat in likeness to Freud's idea of wish fulfillment. If something is wished hard enough, if something is desired strong enough that a human can almost make it happen. And this is somewhat likened to Adam and Eve, that they continually imagine eating of that fruit, and Satan overstimulates their mind, that it clouds their reason. And then Raphael likens Eve, the mother of all mankind, to the Virgin Mary and to Venus. Raphael's dining with Adam and Eve is similar to Genesis 18, when Abraham entertains the three angels. And then Raphael explains the scale of nature, which reiterates that natural hierarchy that we've talked about. If the hierarchy is broken, then chaos reigns. Milton did not believe the Son was co eternal with God, but that he was the first thing to be created. And that has been left or started much debate among critics, because Milton tends to negate the idea of the Trinity. It is God's announcement proclaiming the Son as the angel's superior that causes Satan's jealousy and his consequent behavioral rebellion against God. And then Abdiel is Milton's prototype of those who hold their convictions against the opinions of the masses. So, whereas Abdiel realizes what he has done before he actually goes and follows Satan in the fall, this is contrasting to Adam and Eve, who do not follow that. Will ultimately go through with that fall. So these are just some of the things to keep in mind as you continue in your reading.